primary to a binary weapon. At some point, when the chemtrails change, then the susceptibility of the systems, the human immune system that's been worn down by the initial chemtrail, can be activated. That's one point. Number
that's
two,
what you and others have always said. Is the what's the weapon system called where they give you half of it and then later give you the other half?
Well, it's a binary.
Yeah.
And so here's what's critical, too, in people understanding this. You can literally take the CDC's reports and go back to when the chemtrail spraying started, following it through to when all the reports of how many respiratory diseases, and I'm getting every day, with no exaggeration, 20, 30, 40 emails of people that are coming down with respiratory crud. Now, I think that this is
Well, that's
critical.
what this flu does, is it causes people to die, just like the 1918 swine flu or bird flu that killed so many.
Right.
Spanish flu, if I got the name right. That one hit the respiratory system.
Absolutely, but what is interesting to people is not only do they, when you're engineering a biological weapon, you absolutely, at the same time you are designing the weapon, you're designing the antidote or the vaccine, okay? The anti-weapon, whichever way it's going. If it's chemical warfare, it's an antidote. If it's biological, it's a vaccine. The thing that's telling to me in this whole thing, Alex, is the fact that the rapidity that it's spreading throughout the world. Now, I believe the Illuminati, the New World Order crowd, always gives their signals, okay? And one of the signals is there are 751 flights out of Mexico City a day to points around the world. That's the number 13. The first announcement coming out of New Zealand was that there were 13 people infected. If everybody knows their history of biological warfare, especially under the Second World War in Japan, you're dealing with Dr. Ishii and Unit 731, which some people said was more accurately called 751. Now, if you understand, too, the history of Mexico City and the whole Aztec Empire and everything, you've got to understand that there is a severe occult symbolism of meeting at the pyramids, of meeting at the key pyramid where more people were slain in a day than some armies were slain in a year of fighting in the world.
And listen, this is very esoteric, but I knew you would bring this up because I was already thinking this and we're on the same track. You know, when I talk about weather weapons, seismic weapons, people would laugh, but it's now been declassified, just not the details. Here is the news transcript, U.S. Department of Defense. If you Google DOD briefing, Secretary of Defense S. Cohen, earthquake weapons, it comes up, and here's the transcript of it, 1997. It's on screen right now. Let me, he goes on to see Alvin Toffler has written about this in terms of some scientists in their laboratories devise certain types of pathogens that would be ethnic specific so they could just eliminate certain ethnic groups and races, and others are designing some sort of engineering, some sort of insects that can destroy specific crops. Others are engaging engaging even in a eco type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. And this is what Dick Cheney then says in the September 20th, 2000 Rebuilding America's Defenses. We want to legitimize the use of race-specific bioweapons. You have a 6.0. They haven't had one of those in years. And it's right on Mexico City, right as all this is happening. And you're right. This is a satanic center. The elites are upset. This is all just getting too weird, Steve.
Well, can I tell you this, Alex? And I know that there are certain things that, you know, we're trying to cover, but the esoteric nature of it is the very spirit behind everything you've written about, Alex, everything you've broadcast about. Though people see the literal nuts and bolts of how it's being implemented, when these individuals are meeting at the pyramids, when they're meeting at the sacrificial centers of the world, now that you've got the earthquakes happening, and don't forget one of the biggest volcanoes in the world is Popo, in the vicinity of Mexico City, I think the thing that people really have got to get through their head now is that they have to take an active role. You and I have taught them how to fish, but we can't put the fishing reel in their hand and point them to the water hole of knowledge. They've got to act. They have got to prepare. And, Alex, this esoteric nature of it is the spirit behind all of it. Listen, just as that represents, Mexico City represents the blood sacrifice capital of the world, the Luciferians were sending a signal that out of the blood sacrifice capital city of the world would go the ultimate Luciferian sacrifice of I don't know how many dead, but trust me, 50 million's on the light side. You and I
stay there. up for quick questions from Nathan, Leo, Bill, Dominic, JD, Nicolette, Sherry, Dave, Carter, George, Nathan, Morty. We're going to take a lot of calls in the next segment. Just quick questions or comments from all of them. And then get your take on it. We'll also put up on screen your website for folks as well. But, Steve, look, we know they use this type of hype to train everybody to take the vaccines, to take the Tamiflu, to take the drugs. The government's your friend. It gives you a little mask. But they leave our borders wide open while Europe is screening Americans and Mexicans that fly in. They're banning our food imports to Germany and Russia and England and others. I mean, if there's not something to this, it's a crime that they're hyping it up. And then we've got all the news of cover-ups of how many have really died. And then you look at this clearly engineered virus. The doctors we've had on have said clearly. I mean, they usually talk about, bird flu mixing with human. Some of the variants having evidence of this. And then they say that the maker of the vaccine that the UN has chosen is Baxter, the company we've been railing against, who have told 18 sub-companies in Europe to mix live bird flu with regular vaccine. Thank God they got caught. But then some unnamed companies in mainstream news, London Telegraph, that was paying city workers to give homeless shots and paying them, and the homeless were dying of bird flu. In fact, put that up on screen about the homeless dying of bird flu. I want people to see these mainstream articles who don't believe us. I mean, something stinks here, Steve. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of crazy stuff. I don't know what's coming out of this, but definitely this has got New World Order fingerprints all over it.
Well, absolutely. And for those of you, the people that are biblically inclined, this is the pestilence. This is one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And I think that people need to understand this. We're being isolated. Alex, I said 5 years ago, the time will come when no trains will run, no planes will fly, no cars, no vehicles, etc. America will become completely isolated. It will be isolated in that we will be cut off. We will be considered the pariah nation of the world. Now, let's get back to Mexico really quick, because I think this is what's going to take down the economy, okay? Our economy, not just Mexico's economy. My sources on the ground in that area are claiming 2,000 dead. 2,000 dead. Now, first of all, I believe nothing that comes out of officialdom. I believe that the CDC is only there to control how should I say this, disseminate the information. I believe that this is if you will, imagine America as the test tube. This is the test case. And so over the years, when you and I would talk about the depopulation of the world, 90%, we got, all the tinfoil hat boys would get together on boards and hoist a few scotches to us. But now, this is something that even strikes the boldest skeptic, because the smallest virus, the smallest bug, the question is, are they testing first on a select confined population, i.e. Mexicans, Hispanics, Latinos, or is this just the fear to make everyone run to the answer, the Hegelian dialectic, by injection, and take the vaccination? I am convinced the vaccination is the execution dose. If you deny or decline to take the vaccination, that's when the camps come in. That's when the martial law comes in, Alex.
Oh, my God. Why didn't I see this? Are you? Of course. Baxter's caught breeding up millions of dosages of vaccine with live bird flu that the scientists in the Czech Republic said would be a perfect way to create a master airborne mutagen with a 90% kill rate with that particular version of bird flu. When you can ingest it, if you actually get it, you're in deep trouble. And then they're making all these vaccines. The news won't say where all the vaccine stock went. And then Baxter is chosen out of hundreds of major companies to be the one to make the vaccine for this flu. Oh, man.
This is so insipidly wicked. This is so horrific. I honestly believe, Alex, and I make no bones about this. By the way, my guesstimate on time, based on what I'm sensing in my gut, is from about Thursday on, things are going to turn totally bad. I caught nothing but crap for putting up the orange alert. People were saying, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And I stand by that alert. I did not put up that alert without a lot of intercessors praying. I sought the Lord. I said, God, I cannot afford to be wrong on this one, not for my sake, but for your people's sake. Now, here's the deal. The situation that's going on right now is absolutely so diabolically wicked that the simple Western mind of well-meaning Americans cannot even embrace the thought of what you just had as a revelation. They cannot embrace it. Therefore, because they reject the knowledge, or, you know, the mainstream will call you and I the tinfoil boys or whatever, you know, the bottom line in all this, and I keep saying that, Alex, cutting to the chase, this is the initiating action. What comes from this point is the death. And
well,
that is
take 76. The swine flu wasn't killing anybody. The President Ford orders the whole public to take it. People start taking it and dying in mass, and so they had to pull back. So this has happened before. Man, there's a lot of media fear-mongering going on. We'll break that down when we get back.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
All right, your calls are coming up with our guest Steve Quayle to the end of the hour, into the show, and then